Thank you, Scott, for that kind introduction. And thank you all for coming today. There are so many amazing people in the room today that I have met over the last few years. I appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to be here. I know that there are a variety of different sizes of companies represented in today's webinar, and your situations are all very different. But one thing is for certain about all of you. What got you here won't get you there. What got you to the level of success you're at today won't get you to the level of success you want for tomorrow. The person you are today can't get you to the results you're looking for tomorrow. And the team you have today can't get you to the level of success you're after tomorrow. The company you currently have is perfectly designed to get you the results that you're getting now. Are you happy with the results you're getting? If not, get out your notepad and let's talk about how to redesign your company and yourself to get the results you want. But before we do that, I want to recommend 4 books. All 4 of these books are great for business owners that want to build a business. You can change the slide. Build a business that works so that they don't have to. Traction is my favorite of these 4 books, and it's available today for free. Today is the 15th anniversary of the release of the book, and they're giving away 15,000 copies. If there are any left, you should go to the website in the chat to get one sent to you or give a gift to someone. Okay, today I'm going to be presenting from the perspective of a proven second in command or integrator, as the book Traction refers to that person. Before I get into it though, I want to tell you some stories about my journey through the business world, and I'm going to pull out 9 principles that will be helpful for you along the way as well. The first story is about my first experience working in an office environment. For 7 years, I worked at a church of about 1,000 members in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. My role started out as facility manager and ministry assistant and gradually grew into a staff pastor position where I was in charge of over 100 volunteers on a weekly basis on multiple teams. My main role was training and developing volunteers, developing leadership teams to run ministries, and basically my highest function was to replace myself. We had a pretty lean staff, and my role is to work myself out of a job in each ministry team by creating a leadership team that could run the ministry with my coaching as needed. So principle 1 for your notes: you aren't a true leader until you build a leader who can take over for you. This was a very hard principle for me to learn. When I first started, I thought I could do it all myself. I did it all, but as time went by, I couldn't do it all anymore. My responsibilities kept increasing, and as they increased, so did my stress. Eventually, I had no choice but to get better at involving and developing other people. But to be honest about that role at that time, there was very little structure in the organization. The systems and processes of the organization were largely inside of people's heads. The subverbal intellectual property, as John Mill would call it, was trapped in the senior pastor and other staff's heads. Nothing was written down, no training manuals. It all had to be created from scratch. It was very frustrating for me. I'm a logical, details, systems kind of a guy, so it drove me a bit nuts not having the structure that was needed to succeed. Thankfully, I was able to accept it for what it was and go about creating the structure needed to be successful. Due to that, it was slow and sometimes painful because it had to be created from scratch through trial and error. Principle 2 for your notes: people in your organization who are operationally minded need structure to succeed and will wilt without it. You don't want to alienate or frustrate the operationally minded people in your company because they are the key to a business that runs smoothly and is scalable. Think back about people who have left your organization in the past. Are they people that were just like you or people that were different from you? If they were detail-oriented operational people, this may be what happened, and you need to adjust if you want to go to the next level. While our church didn't have a great deal of structure or systems at that time, what it did have was a great vision that was clearly communicated and shared by all. This is a big reason why I was there, and a big reason I could stay focused on doing the hard work of building a system that would help us succeed. Without that vision, to be honest, I probably would have quit, and I almost did anyway. Principle 3, vision unites your team and helps them accept the challenges that come because the mission is more important than their feelings. During my time at the church, I was introduced to a concept that I didn't recognize at the time. The book Traction touches on it briefly, and the book Rocket Fuel expands on it even further. The concept is the visionary integrator duo. These are two positions at the top of an organization that are filled by two people that couldn't be any more different. The visionary is typically a big picture thinker, often but not always the founder. They love making the big sale, managing big relationships, solving big problems. They are typically more emotional and passionate. People love to follow them because of their passion and vision, at least for a while. Where this type of leader tends to struggle is when it comes to details. They typically don't like digging into the details or managing people. It feels like a distraction from their more important visionary duties. That is where the second role comes in. The integrator, they are the opposite of the visionary, typically very logical and process-minded. They love the details. The day-to-day operations of an organization is where they come alive. They love managing people and solving small problems. While I didn't know about these two roles at the time, looking back, I was most definitely an integrator type in my church career, and our senior pastor was absolutely a visionary. As you can imagine, these two people think very differently, and consequently, they are challenged in communication and unity between them. Reflecting on those days, that was definitely the case in my time at the church. Because of this, the danger for leaders of organizations is that you can find it easier to surround yourself with people just like you. And while it is easier in the short term, it's not going to bring the best results. The thing you actually need is to surround yourself with people with complementary skills that have the ability to do things that you cannot. Not only that, but preferably people that love to do the things that you cannot. While it's harder on the front end because you have to do the work of getting unity with them, once you have unity and learn to appreciate and leverage each other's unique abilities, look out, the sky's the limit. Principle 4, surround yourself with people that can do what you can't or don't want to do. To sum up this season of my career, I would say that vision and structure are equally important. Vision sets you up for engagement, but structure will keep people engaged and on track and get you the results that you want. The next season of my life was a tough one. In October 2014, our first child, Nolan, was born, and 35 hours later, he was gone. Full term, no issues right up to the C-section, and he came out not breathing. It was like getting hit by a bus. It never even crossed my mind that our child could die, and it hit us hard. I took 10 weeks off and then returned to work for 10 weeks. I was okay at first, but then the grief and pressures of my job became too much. I was a mess, and I took another 10 weeks off and then decided to leave for a year and go and work for a friend's commercial construction company. He wanted me to be a project manager, but I just wanted a drill or a hammer and limited responsibility for a season so that I could be fully present with my wife and our grief when I wasn't working. After about 6 months, though, I started to feel better and I was ready for a new challenge. I was promoted to estimator and began to learn the commercial construction business from the office perspective. It was a lot to learn, and I found myself again in a similar situation where the systems and structure needed improvement. I was in that role for 3 years, and I got to know the business quite well over that time. And during these 3 years, the owner, who was a friend and member of the church, I had just left, would vent to me about his frustrations with the business and the team. There was a high level of trust between us, and I was probably the only person he could talk to about his challenges. After 3 years of venting, it felt like he wasn't doing enough to fix it. So I made a list of every issue that he had vented about and another list of how I would solve each issue, and we went for coffee. I presented it all to him, and at the end of the meeting, he said, "You're promoted." And he gave me the book Traction to read and told me that I was now the integrator and that he was going to step back because he caused more problems than he solved when he got involved in operations. Principle 5, your humility is key to the success of your organization. My former boss was humble enough to admit his weaknesses, and it set us up to go to the next level. From there, I went to work implementing the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS, that's described in the book Traction. We hired a project coordinator to do data entry because our project managers didn't have time for it, but they were lacking the information needed to make good decisions. We started doing level 10 meetings, with our leadership team, and later with our production department. If you're not familiar with this meeting agenda, Google it. There are lots of videos on YouTube that explain it. 2/3 of an L10 meeting is spent solving issues, not band-aiding them, but getting to the root cause of issues and solving them systematically for good. We also determined our scorecard, or metrics, for the company, estimating and production. We then determined the scorecard for our project managers, and I met with them weekly as a group and one-on-one to discuss how everything was going and to hold them accountable. Principle 6, to have a high-performing, profitable company, you must have some way to measure everyone's success on a regular basis. As you can tell, I raised the level of accountability in the company drastically right away. Our most senior project manager and I went for lunch about a year into being in the role of integrator, and he said to me that at first he didn't like the idea of increased accountability. It sounded like whip cracking. But by that point, he realized that it was not that at all. It was a genuine desire to help him win. The questions I asked him each week were to keep him on track and help him be successful. I knew that if he excelled, I excelled, and the company excelled. It was win, win, win. In fact, I told the company that my goal, once promoted, was to get everyone a profit sharing bonus that year. We hadn't had one in 4 years, and I told them that we all had to work together to make it happen. Principle 7, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. It sounds cheesy, but it's true. Your intent matters more than anything. As a leader, if your intent is to make yourself look good or get yourself a raise or make more money, people can tell. On the contrary, if your intent is to help them win and succeed, they can also tell, and you will see engagement like you've never had before. And by the way, your success will follow that as well, but don't get it backwards. There was a lot of learning happening during this season, and I could go on and on about it, but I won't in the interest of time. Bottom line, though, is that we crushed it that year. We 22 times our net profit over the previous fiscal year on the same revenue, and everyone got that profit sharing bonus. I loved it, and the office staff engaged on a new level. My visionary loved it for many reasons, but mostly because he didn't need to be involved in the company nearly as much, actually about 4 hours a week. And he actually went out and bought a residential construction company that year and later bought 2 fitness studios as well. It was a great success, and I felt like I found my calling. Then COVID hit. What a gong show that was for the first month. Every day was a new adventure, and not in a good way. Once that craziness settled down, things at work were a bit slow, and I took some time off to support my wife, who had just had our 4th son, Jesse, via C-section. Mostly, I played with our older 2 sons all day. My role wasn't that needed at the time because the volume of work had dropped dramatically. I had no intention of leaving the company at that time, but my acquaintance, Scott King, invited me to participate in a breakthrough hub, a group of 5 business people who met twice a week to discuss a world-class book they were reading and to keep each other accountable. I love reading books and discussing things that matter, and I thought I could use some accountability at that time, so I joined as a participant, and I loved it. 2 weeks in, my wife looked at me and said, "What is going on with you? You're so happy, focused, and productive." And my response was, "It's this hub. I love it. I think I might want to join his team." It felt like such a perfect combination of my experience to that point, facilitating small groups and courses, leading, mentoring, and coaching people, both at church and at the construction company. It also was an opportunity to share my integrator perspective with business owners who needed it. I didn't realize how much that perspective was needed until about a year into the role, when I realized that my experience at the last 2 organizations were pretty much mimicked in the experience of all my clients. The same problems and issues existed everywhere, it seemed. So I decided to create my own niche for serving visionary business owners to help them develop a second in command that can take on the role that I just come out of and help them take their business to the next level. And that brings us to where we are today. So today, I am officially announcing the launch of my business, the Integrator Catalyst. I want to be clear about something up front though. I'm not here to sell you today on working with me. I'm here to add value. I've been working on this presentation for a month with the intent to add as much value as I possibly can in 30 minutes. One of our core values is add value all the time, everywhere. I'm going to give you some ideas and tools today that will help you win. After the presentation, if you want to chat further with me, I'll be offering a free 30-minute consultation where I can answer any questions you have about your specific situation. My mission is to help business owners develop healthy and strong companies through developing healthy and strong visionary integrator duo relationships. A healthy company has healthy leadership. It's very similar to how a healthy family has healthy parents. I'm not going to do a poll, and don't raise your hands, but how many of you had parents who had a really horrible, unhealthy relationship? Maybe they got divorced or just never got along that well. How did that affect your life? I'm sure it was something you had to overcome in order to be successful. Contrast that with parents who had a healthy relationship. That was a blessing. It made it much easier for you to be successful. It was a powerful example of how to live and made it much easier to be a success in life because you had a great example to follow. Principle 8, the health of your leadership team will determine the health of your company. I know sometimes it's hard to quantify health. So today I'm going to give you a quick way to do that, specifically in relation to your second in command. I have a free assessment that I've developed to help you gauge the health of your visionary integrator relationship. Today, we're going to do a short version of the assessment right now. On a scale of 1 to 5, answer the following 5 questions. Don't overthink it. Just go with your first instinct. 1 is a strong no. 5 is a strong yes. Number 1, do you trust your integrator or visionary if you're an integrator here today? Number 2, do you believe they have the best interest of the company at heart? Number 3, do you believe they care about you as a person? Number 4, does your counterpart have good business judgment? Number 5, do your core values align? You don't have to share your score, but quickly total up your numbers. And if your score is 21 to 25, I'm really happy for you. You're on the right track. If your score is 16 to 20, you have some work to do. If you scored 11 to 15, you have a lot of work to do. If you scored 6 to 10, you may want to seriously consider reevaluating if it's a good fit or not. If you scored 5, I'll pray for you, but you should seriously consider a divorce. Principle 9, life, and this one's really important. Life is too short to work with people who don't align with your values and don't care about you. So just curious, did anyone score 21 or higher? Post it in the chat if you're comfortable to share your score. If you did have a score higher than that, that's awesome. So now I'm going to switch gears a bit and give you my 3 threes. 3 keys to successfully developing a second in command, 3 common mistakes that cause failure, and 3 keys to letting go. First up, 3 keys to successfully developing your second in command. Number 1, open your mind to other ways of doing things. If you're a true visionary, some of your integrators' ideas are going to be very different from yours. They think differently from you, and that is actually a very good thing. Open your mind, ask questions. Don't write off their ideas before hearing them out. You need more than just your perspective. You need all the perspectives on the table. In fact, EOS recommends that if within your leadership team there's a tie and a vote, the integrator should be the tiebreaker. I would say that speaks highly about their ability to discern a good path forward. Number 2, allow your integrator to make mistakes. You learned a lot through making mistakes in your career and business. Don't try to shelter your integrator from mistakes by hovering over them and filtering every move. While you need to be aware of what's going on, you're going to have to allow them to make some mistakes. That's how we learn, and it's no different here. Number 3, stop answering your team's questions. That probably sounds like a strange piece of advice, but it is crucial. Likely, your team is used to going to you for answers. And if you answer their questions, you are perpetuating the old ways of doing things and you're undermining the authority of your integrator. In the peer EOS accountability chart, the visionary is at the top and there's a line from them to the integrator and no other lines around them to others. Everything goes through the integrator. If you want to truly build a business that works whether you're there or not, you must allow the integrator to run the show and train your team to go to them instead of you. Now, the 3 common mistakes that cause failure. Number 1, giving your integrator the role, but not giving them enough time to do it. It's important that the role of integrator not be something you ask your integrator to do off the side of their desk. It can't be 10% of the role or even 25% of the role. If you do this, it will fail. When it comes down to crunch time and they have to decide to either help a customer or do the integrator role will always take the back burner and they will fail. You have to be willing to invest some overhead to give them the time that they need to properly oversee operations. When my boss promoted me to integrator, I told him that I would do it, but only if I was given 50% of my time at a minimum, if it was going to work. And I'm glad that I did that. And there are 350,000 reasons why he was glad too. And there was a $sign in the front of those reasons. Number 2, giving your integrator the role, but not giving them the authority to do it. If you tell your team that the integrator is in charge, but it's obvious in your behavior that you are actually in charge, they will fail. You will undermine their role and people will see right through it. Nothing will change and you will still carry all of the weight of the organization. They have to have real authority or it won't work. And number 3, giving your integrator the role, but not giving them the resources needed. Your integrator is going to have ideas that are going to cost money. For example, when I became the integrator, the first thing I recommended was hiring a data entry person in a project coordinator role. This added overhead to the company, but it was a very important step in helping our project managers to be successful. You need to invest in good ideas if you want the business to get to the next level. If you don't, things will stay the same. All right, the 3 keys to letting go of the vine. First one, you must have a scorecard. One of the key ideas from EOS and any system you learn in business is that you must measure what matters. It's easier to let go of control to your integrator when you have a way of measuring success. EOS recommends having a company level scorecard that's updated weekly that helps you see how the company is doing. You should also have departmental scorecards that do the same, as well as individual scorecards that let you know how your people are doing. And it also lets them know how they're doing. Imagine it this way. If you were stranded on a deserted island and only had a dashboard of numbers to be able to tell how your business is doing, what would the 10 to 15 numbers be that you would want to know? If these numbers are dialed in and you can access them at any time, then you can relax a bit and let go a little easier. Number 2, you must learn to delegate properly. In my 14 years of experience with visionaries, they typically are not very good at delegating effectively, mostly because they think they've communicated, but they haven't. Often people in your company are intimidated by you and don't ask the questions they should when you delegate something to them, which makes it even worse. The problem with communication is the illusion that has taken place. Clear is kind, and you have to get good at delegating so that there's no gray area. A great small book on this, if you want it, is If You Want It Done Right, You Don't Have to Do It Yourself. It's a quick read, but has some great wisdom. And number 3, you must have regular meetings. Visionaries in the room, I know what you're thinking. More meetings, come on. I'm not talking about your typical pointless, useless meetings that we've all experienced. I'm talking about structured, effective, well-run meetings. This may be another area that you need to grow in. I would recommend a book called Death by Meeting by Patrick Lencioni if you want to grow in this area. The good news is your integrator will eventually end up running these meetings for you, but you still have to attend. Sorry about that, but it's true. There are 3 types of meetings that I recommend that you make non-negotiable. Quarterly meetings. These are high-level meetings that reaffirm the vision, reflect on the last 90 days, and prioritize the most important goals for the next 90 days. It's scientifically proven that humans can only stay focused for about 90 days. So a quarterly meeting gets the leadership team refocused and ready to execute on the most important items. These meetings are recommended to be a full day and away from the office. L10 meetings. These are weekly 90-minute meetings for your leadership team, and depending on your company size, possibly for departmental leadership teams also. I mentioned this type of meeting earlier, and if you consistently implement these meetings, you will be amazed at how many issues get solved and how engaged your leadership team will become. The last type of meeting is called the same page meeting. EOS recommends these meetings be monthly, and they're for the visionary and the integrator only. If you have a new integrator, I recommend you do them weekly until you feel comfortable that the integrator is getting in a good rhythm and has proven themselves to you. You could move it to every 2 weeks at some point, and then later to monthly once you really feel confident in their abilities. The purpose of this meeting is just as it sounds, to make sure the 2 of you are on the same page. The visionary integrator duo is the most important relationship in the company and must stay unified if you want to get to the next level. EOS has proven agendas that you can use for all 3 of these meetings so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Take the time to do them and watch the results unfold. So if you have a solid scorecard, learn how to delegate effectively, and have these regular effective meetings, you will feel much more confident in letting go of the vine and releasing control to your integrator. All right, I have one final bonus principle for the visionaries in the room today. This tip comes out of a conversation that I had today with a good friend that I highly value who's here today. You know who you are. Bonus principle today: an unbridled visionary with no integrator can cause a lot of damage. Now, I love and respect visionaries greatly. They bring so much to the table that is precious to the company, but they can also hurt people without an integrator to balance them out. In my experience, a lot of visionaries are really smart. In fact, often too smart for their own good. I think it's because they're so passionate and focused that they study and learn and grow fast in the areas that they're passionate about. Because of this, though, they can look down on those around them that don't catch the vision as quickly as they would like. They can become prideful and, by extension, rude to their team. I don't think it's on purpose, but it happens. Not always, but in my experience, 2/3 of the time it did. Just be aware of this possibility and guard against it. This goes back to principle 5 about humility being important. I know that EOS speaks a lot about working in your unique ability as much as possible, and that's true, but guard against how you're perceived by your team. You can do a lot of damage to your company if you fail in this one area. If you're not willing to work on this, you are limiting the health and effectiveness of your company. You will undermine everything. Now, I'm going to do an article about this because there's much more to this than I have time for today. But a great book on this is Leadership and Self-Deception by the Arbinger Institute. I would highly recommend reading that book if what I just said resonates with you. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit now and dig into the problems that the Integrator Catalyst is designed to help solve. The first problem is a lack of structure and systems in a company. Similar to the church and the construction company that I worked for, it's very common that small business owners are very good at their trade, but not nearly as trained on how to run a business. Some of you may have never heard of the book Traction or any of the other books that I mentioned earlier, but you now know how much of a difference using an operational system like EOS can make in a business. I offer a hub on the book Traction designed for people who need more structure in their business. The hub is designed as an intro to EOS. We're not implementing. You can't implement it in 5 weeks, but it's designed to help you learn some best practices. This hub is 5 weeks long, once a week for 1 hour. The second problem that it's designed to solve is the owner is wearing too many hats. Too many business owners get stuck in this spot and at some point realize that they need to develop a leadership team. I offer coaching that I call the Integrator Catalyst Intensive. This is designed to coach you through the process of developing the first part of your leadership team, your integrator. This coaching is available to coach both the visionary and the integrator, as they both typically have some things that they need to grow in. The Integrator Catalyst Intensive is a 6-month program that builds a foundation for future growth of the company. It's also available in private coaching or in group or hub format. Both options are 1 hour a week. The third problem that I help business owners with is a lack of unity in the visionary integrator duo. This problem is very common. Visionaries and integrators are so different that it takes some effort to find unity. I like to joke that they're kind of like a husband and a wife. For those of you that are married, you know what I'm talking about. We think very differently, and without increased awareness and intentional effort, it can cause problems. And if you're out of alignment and lacking unity, your team can tell, and it will affect your results. To help you solve this problem, I've developed a Unity Hub that has been proven to help bring unity and clarity to this relationship so that you can lead your team to the next level through leveraging both of your strengths for maximum impact. This program is 5 weeks long and also 1 hour a week. And the last problem that I have designed this for is a lack of intentional personal growth in the visionary or integrator. Your growth and development as the leader of your company sets the pace for the growth and development of your team. If you are stagnant, they will likely follow your lead. One of the biggest keys to success in any organization is creating a growth environment. If there is a hunger to grow and learn in your team, the sky truly is the limit. Earlier, Scott mentioned the breakthrough year, and the Integrator Catalyst is bringing you the breakthrough year for visionaries and the breakthrough year for integrators. These programs are custom designed to help people in these two roles excel and set the pace for their team. The program addresses many of the common challenges that people in these two roles face. The programs are 12 months long and 1 hour a week and are available in both one-on-one and group coaching formats. So this brings us to the end of my presentation. The last thing I want to tell everyone here today is that in the spirit of our core value, add value everywhere all the time, I want to let you all know that I'm working hard to create a website that will add value to people with the above problems for free. Feel free to check it out at integratorcatalyst.com. Over time, I'll be adding more and more content to help you win, as well as launching my own regular webinar next month and podcast probably at the beginning of next year. Please follow my company page on LinkedIn if you would like to stay informed. And now, as a gift to each of you, as I close, I would like to give you the opportunity to complete my Visionary Integrator Unity Assessment, along with a free 30-minute consultation to discuss the results, either with you alone or with you and your integrator. The assessment is designed to be similar to a premarital assessment. You each do it separately, and it will alert us to any red flags that show a lack of unity. In premarital, an example is one of them wants 5 kids and one wants no kids. This is a problem and needs to be discussed. In this context, though, one example could be that the visionary believes that the roles of the leadership team are very clear, but the integrator thinks they're not. This needs to be discussed as well. So Scott's going to drop the link in the chat if you want to do that. If you're not interested in that but you'd still like to have a free 30-minute consultation with me, you can go to my website and in the top right, click the link at the top of the screen, and I'll pass it back over to you, Scott. Thank you, everyone, for your time.